Thank you. I didn't realize we were dating today, but it is nice to be with you, Ray. Good afternoon at this point. I only have 5 minutes, so I'm tempted to talk really, really fast. And I also realize that I'm probably the third or fourth American accent you've had on stage today, so just yell at me if I start talking too fast. Look, I'm here from Fortress. I definitely appreciate the opportunity to be here and talk with you today. The title of my slides is Solving for Third-Party Risk Management, and I know that's controversial because there is no solving. We're all going to deal with a level of risk and a risk acceptance. And I know that was a question that came up in the Hoover app today of risk acceptance. Are we okay with that? I think we're all going to have to live in some sort of gray. And I know that comment was probably a little controversial as well. But solving adds to other C's that I like to think about, and we like to think about at Fortress. And that's comprehensive. Do I have at least a comprehensive view of my risk? And conclusive. Am I doing something about it? And even if that means accepting it, who accepted it? And there was a conversation in the Hoover app today about who is accepting risk. Is it the business owner? Is it the risk leader? Is it the cyber leader? Is it the CEO? Who is accepting that risk and then auditing that acceptability? And what kind of actions are you taking in place to mitigate that risk? This is a very busy slide, so this is just a little bit about us. But you can come talk to us at the back of the room. A couple things I like to think about on this slide is just how do we deliver this information? It's available in a platform, it's a SaaS platform, but it's data. And what I want to call your attention to is the bottom left. A lot of the conversation we're having here is about third-party risk, a lot of vendor conversations. What I love about the previous discussion was it gets into product risk. Sometimes vendors look great. You'll do an outside scan, you'll do a full assessment, and whether that's an attestation or a validation, the vendor still looks really good. But the product that they give you is not. It's full of vulnerabilities. They don't patch their vulnerabilities fast as you want them to. They have hardware that they use the cheapest components inside, and that creates new vulnerabilities. Or they're using end-of-life equipment that's no longer supported at the sub-level. Or maybe they're relying on vendors that you didn't even know are in your supply chain. Until you dive into the products, you don't really know what your risk is. And sometimes our organizations split that. And that's okay. You can have vendor analysis over here and product analysis over here. But at some point, that risk analysis needs to come together so you can see the full view, that comprehensive view of risk that you're accepting. The other thing is what is the importance of risk without attaching risk to your business impacts? And I love the conversation on the last one of likelihood and impact. We call it likelihood and impact. I think it was possibilities and impact. But some very basic risk register of what goes offline if this fails, if this vendor fails, if this software fails, if this hardware fails, or I can't get any more of it. What happens to the business? Unless you're tracking that, it makes it very difficult to understand, again, what that comprehensive view of risk is. And so our platform is just designed to integrate with your GRC, your SAP systems, or your business systems. A lot of our work is in the OT space, so it becomes even more critical to making sure that your business operations continue. And then on the right side is the respond, the mitigate, the remediate. What do I do with that information that I've received? Because it's great to have a lot of red flags and blinking red lights and, oh my gosh, look at all the challenges I found. But if your platform doesn't allow you to actually show what you did about it, then what are you actually showing in terms of your reduced risk? So this is just a little bit about everything that we do in terms of third-party risk management, deep dives into software, deep dives into hardware, and then that ongoing vulnerability management. We like to think about it as I'm going to scan you when you come in, that acquisition process of I'm going to look at you from a vendor perspective outside in, we'll give you a score. We're going to do a deep dive with an assessment for your really critical vendors, and then we're going to do the software and hardware for the most critical assets that you're getting. And then from there, we're going to continuously monitor it. So it's great one point in time, but you need to make sure you track it over time. And I know the conversation this morning was 3 months or a year. I think that's good, but there's certain things that you're going to want to know about immediately. And that's, has my vendor been breached? You probably have it in your contract to say, you better tell me when you got breached. But are they? In most cases, they're not. So I want to be able to know that information immediately. And we do that on a day-to-day basis. Things like that, things like brand new investors coming from challenging areas of the world or specific investors that you don't want investing in your vendors, things like that. So real-time impacts to your supply chain. There's a lot of conversation on assessments. We certainly started our business with assessments. And what I really want to dive into here is the conversation we had yesterday and some of the conversation I had this morning almost pits us in this room against the vendor. And it becomes adversarial. And I can see how that happens, but I can tell you your business owner doesn't always see that as an adversarial relationship. They see it as another C, collaborative, and they rely on that vendor. And so we in this room have to understand our stakeholder is the business owner. We have to make sure the business stays operational. But at the same time, our stakeholder is the organization, and we have to make sure it stays safe. And your vendor, in most cases, wants that too. They want a collaborative relationship. And so how do we bridge that gap? And that's something that we've worked really hard at over the course of the last 10 years at Fortress, is to make sure it's a collaborative relationship. We're very proud of, we do managed assessments, so we'll take that off of our customers' hands, we'll do the assessment for them, we'll work with the vendor. We have a very high success rate of actually getting that cooperation and the coordination. And a lot of times, it's despite the vendor not really knowing how to answer all the questions. And what we do is we do a lot of validation. And so we'll do automated validation, and then we'll do manual validation. I love the example earlier of the turnstile that wasn't connected to anything. We have people that go on site with customers and vendors, to make sure that those controls are in place. And we find not dissimilar things. I know that was a kind of a joke slide, but we definitely find a lot of controls in place that aren't really controls. And that's something that we report back to our customers of, does this matter to you? And that's the conversation that we're constantly having. And then, like I said earlier, we do a light touch assessment as well. And this is important because we can map those vendor controls assessments, those validated assessments to any framework around the world. So right now, we do a lot of CSF mapping. In the United States, we do a lot of NERC SIP, so utilities mapping. We do DORA, NIS2, et cetera, et cetera. So you can map assessments to anything. And then on this one, we map to validated controls for vendor monitoring through a lot of different frameworks. In this case, we work with the United States Department of Defense to build this. But this is where we use AI to scan 50,000 plus different data sources. I know a lot of organizations try to bring this in-house and do their own analysis, but it's really hard to get your arms around so much information around the world and so much open source intelligence as well as closed source intelligence and be able to sort through that information. And so that's why we're able to use this framework and attach it to multiple layers of scrim risk. Because a lot of times we're talking about third-party risk from a cyber perspective, but your procurement or your acquisitions teams are probably looking at third-party risk from am I gonna get my stuff on time kind of risk. How do you map that all together and make sure you're looking at it as one organization with one risk? Different tiers for that. And then lastly, I'll just kind of build out this slide. When we think about how we put all this together, I'll just go back to my 3 C's. You should have a comprehensive view of risk. There's going to be lots of organizations or lots of different groups within your organization that look at risk. We are very strong believers in making sure you're looking at risk as one organization and then what that risk is to your business. And then that includes product risk and vendor risk and asset risk. And then also conclusive. What are you going to do about the information? And so that's why we built our platform the way we did, in a way that helps you address what is your action, what's your plan of action and milestones. And then lastly, that collaborative. You should be able to work in a system of trust with your vendors. And that's very difficult, but that's something that I think we've talked about all day, and I'd love to continue the conversation about is how do you work with your stakeholders internally collaboratively, and then with your vendors as well, because in most cases, you're gonna be with them for a long time. So how do you build that level of trust? And that's all I've got. So thank you for your time today. If you're interested in further dating, we're in the back, and further conversations throughout the rest of the couple days.
It's probably the best day I've had for quite a while. But thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Really good.
I'll leave that with you.